So guys, here we have a disc grinder. You're all saying, wow, big deal, this is new, this is revolutionary, what's this guy going on about on social media? Well, actually, this disc grinder has changed my world. It's freed up a lot of my bench space. I used to have 3 disc grinders, don't need them anymore. What I have here is what we call the Super Reaper. It's like, you know, Clark Kent getting changed in a phone booth. This changes like that. So let's go. We've got 180 grit on here. I want to sand this bit of brass to 1200 grit. On a normal disc grinder, I'm going to have to sand it to 180, prep the wheel, put the new paper on, go to the next grit, pull it off, prep the wheel, put the next paper on. Maybe I can get away with not having to prep the wheel each time, but if I've got a bit of dust or anything stuck on it, it's going to be a problem. I'm going to have to muck around to get it right. Watch this. There we go, 180 grit, real time. 400 grit. All I've got to do is line up the alignment pin, stick the new one on. The drive pin, there's a little pin there, a hub that it lines up on, and a drive pin that stops it spinning. .400 grit. .800 grit. Last of all, .1200 grit. Give it a quick buff. There we go. Nice bit of brass, polished up, ready to go. So one of the things about having dust extraction on your disc grinder is that it can really get in the way when you're trying to change your paper. So when the new sheet goes on, we stick it in place and we have to sort of get in there and cut it out. It's a bit of a pain, so you can sort of make it work, but with this system it's much easier. All you do is take it off, you can change it on your bench. Alright? One of the downsides of regularly changing paper, other than the fact that it doesn't stick optimally and typically will peel off, is that if you get dust, grit or anything like that on the feathering adhesive, and in this case you can see here we've got a little bit of residual paper that's bust through. Well, that was probably caused by having a bit of grit on the wheel when I stuck the new paper on. That bit of grit lifts up the paper, and when the job comes around it peels it off. Well, in this case that's stuck to the disc. I've got to get that cleaned up, that area, before I can stick on new paper. If you haven't used feathering adhesive and you've used contact adhesive and you've left your paper on there and it's stuck on there terribly, you can take it over to your bench and work on it. You can also take it over to your wire wheel, clean off any residual paper. So that's a nice thing about this system as well. With this system I don't need to use a new piece of paper every time I change grits. I don't have to worry about it getting anything stuck on the back of it. I have none of those issues. I only need to change the paper when it needs changing. I don't need to play around with trying to get papers realigned nicely on the disc. I don't need to do any of that. It's fantastic. That saves you money. Paper costs money, and I'm Scottish, so it's important to me. Maybe it's important to you. Another great feature about this grinder that I've spoken about, these are steel, right? So these have got a nice crisp edge on them that's beveled. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but we'll get a close up. That edge is beautifully beveled so that you can get into those tight spots on your folding knives and into relief angles. So you can get, it's very, very versatile. It goes without saying that with this system, I can use your standard rests. No difference, everything's fine. Clearance wise, works just the same. So it's a good system. for that perspective as well. As you can see, we can change between papers really quickly. Well, that's pretty good. I think you'll agree. I saved myself a bunch of time there doing a small job. But what about other versatility? Well, everyone always wants a beveled disc. The beautiful thing about a beveled disc is that when you're sharpening a knife, or grinding the bevels on a knife, the disc, I hope you can see that, will not interfere on the other side. So when I'm coming in from this side, the blade lifts off the disc and I don't have any interference on the back of the disc. So these are really great. I haven't got them for a long time, but I do. And what you can do with a bevel disc is obviously just drop it straight on. There we go, and away you go. You can get, again, have numerous grits in your bevel disc. Well, that's nice. That saved me another machine. But there's other things that this can do as well, which is where, for me, it's been a bit of a game changer. It's been actually a big game changer. I've got this misting system, which we can help you out with. This here is a diamond lap. This one's quite coarse, 80 odd grit, 80 grit. They come up to about, that's 800, but you can get them to 2,500 grit for all your sharpening needs, nice and flat. Well, guess what? We modify these discs to suit this grinder, this machine, and they simply flip on just the same as the other products do, like so. And away we go. I've got a nice, I can obviously position that anywhere I like. I've got a nice, cool sharpening system. And again, I can progress through the grit simply by taking off the disc, clipping on the next one. It's all magnets. Just make sure there's no dust on here, but it's pretty good. They don't typically get dirty at all. Maybe you want to work glass. Maybe you want to do something with glass. Maybe you want to do something with stone. Diamond. I use them for tungsten carbide. They're unreal. So you need water. Water is actually kind of nice to have on the disc at other times as well. So that's all fairly straightforward. It's really revolutionised my processes in the shop. I can now switch between grits of paper without mucking around every time. I get a lot more life out of my paper, because most of the time when I'm throwing away my paper, it's still pretty good. And I've got all the extra versatility. Maybe you want to work glass, maybe you want to work stone. Those diamond laps are fantastic. They're great for sharpening. I use mine for tungsten carbide. If you know what I do, then you'll understand why. And yeah, absolutely unreal. They're available from Gamaco. We get them made in New Zealand. They're a locally made product to our branches. Obviously we've got a branch in New Zealand. They're a fantastic little thing. The actual cost and investment on this system, I think you can make it back if you use your disc grinder a fair bit. I think you'll make it back very quickly. You'll definitely make it back in time, because the amount of mucking around that I don't have to do anymore, I love it. It's the best. What I miss?